Hello, my soul brothers and soul sisters. I am Ron Smith, and this is the Dr. Ron Smith Investigate Show, where we separate the real from fake, the fact from fiction, and give you the winner's edge. And sometimes we return your water into wine. We are in season 3, and this is episode number 5. And we are talking about financial lit, as in financial literacy. And I should call it financial fit because we also need to be financially fit also. You know, one of the things that my professor used to tell me that people do not plan to fail, they just fail to plan. And one of the things that if we want to, and I really think we want to be healthy, wealthy, and wise, that's one of the things that Ben Franklin had this adage. And he called it early to bed, early to rise, make a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And one of the things that, in order to be healthy, you have to have your checkups. I know generally they say you should have a annual checkup, and basically you're supposed to go to your dentist maybe every 6 months to get your regular checkup and get cleaning. And the thing about it is that why do we put our finances on the back burner? Basically, usually we wait to the end of the month or whenever the first of the month when we pay our bills to actually dive into those things. And in order to be healthy, you have to have your annual checkup. In order to be wealthy and wise, you have to be able to invest in yourself because that should be the first investment that you make. And I wrote down a couple of books that I think you should actually take advantage of. And this is, I've read over close to 100 books over the last 10, 15, 20 years about personal finance. But here's the ones that kind of jump out at me. And I think if you hadn't started your collection of investment, you should get these ones right here. The first one was Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that was by Robert Kiyosaki. And number 2, Your Money or Your Life, and that's by Vicki Robbins. Number 3, The Millionaire Next Door, which is Thomas Stanley. Number 4, I Would Teach You to Be Rich, and that's Remit Sith. Number 5 is The Richest Man in Babylon, which is a classic, and that's by George S. Clausen. And there's 2, Think and Grow Rich. The first one I read was by Napoleon Hill, but Dennis Kimbro also wrote one, Think and Grow Rich, Black Choice. And number 7 is The Little Book of Common Sense. Now, Rich Dad Poor Dad is very interesting because basically, even though he didn't have 2 dads, he had a guy who he considered a dad. His biological father was a professor, and he was high in education. And basically, he thought being a educator will create the finances that he need. He had another guy that he called the rich dad that basically was a businessman who actually gave him the foundation and told him how actually to accumulate wealth and having a financial background. Your Money or Life by Vicki Robbins. Basically, we work for money, or do we let our money work for us? And basically, sometimes we get into this hamster wheel and get it twisted. We sometimes choose a career that kind of drives us, and we don't really take time to actually live life. And Millionaire Next Door, it basically talks about there's so many millionaire or people who have wealth who you would never assume because they're not flashy, and they basically they maintain a high standard, but they don't have the ostentations. They don't have the bling bling and all the rings and the chains, et cetera, et cetera. And I Would Teach You to Be Rich, with Seth, and basically he kind of automated a whole lot of things, and he talked about how you should be aggressive when you're in your young part of your career, how you should be in the when you're waning down to get ready to retire, how you should be maybe be more conservative. The richest man in Babylon pretty much stated basically you should pay yourself first and then basically do all those other things. So those things can make you healthy, wealthy, and wise. One of the three things, the three types of people, especially in the United States, you have the rich, you have the middle class, and basically you have the poor. And the difference, I really feel that those three classes of people don't understand the purpose of money. And the poor, normally, they feel that basically if I get a good job, have a steady income, and I pay my bills, and basically I give my money to someone else. And basically, as long as I get into that cycle, and it's almost to the point where working paycheck to paycheck. Now, poor and the spirit of poverty is two different things. There are people who make six figures who are living paycheck to paycheck. And I gave an example, when I worked in Manhattan, there are people who are making six figures living in Manhattan, and they're still renting. And because if you know the real estate market in Manhattan is just as bad as it is in San Francisco. So you can actually be a six figure, close to a millionaire, and still rent because the real estate prices are so high. But the whole point is that the middle class, they work to have a great credit score to buy things on credit and actually live like the Joneses, and basically they can be actually living paycheck to paycheck also. But so they work to have the credit scores to buy the things they can't afford. So then you have the wealthy. The main objective for wealthy people is to create a money maternity wards, which means their whole objective is to make their money make money, make their money get pregnant so they can have babies. So those are the different mindsets of the purpose of money. And the thing about it is that in order to change your mindset, to influence your habits, that basically you can be more disciplined, is that basically you have to have a strategy and use certain tactics. And the best one that I know is actually called being smart, which means specific, measurable, obtainable, realistic, and time bound, which means that basically specific, you have to have a target goal in mind when you create your plan. And it has to be measurable, which means that basically you have to have qualifiers and you have to have indicators knowing to keep you on track. And attainable, it has to be, it has to be clearly defined and realistically, and it goes back to attainable, which means that it has to be with your available resources, which means that I can dream about driving a Bentley, but if I don't have the Bentley income, that is not realistic. And time bound goals, which means that basically I should be saying that I should have my monthly goals, might have my quarterly goals, as well as my annual goals. And one of the things I try to do is have some goals, and I don't like to use the term quote resolutions, but there are some things that I would like to accomplish. I had some goals this year that I'm still working on. There's some things that I have accomplished, but there's one thing that I'm still haven't achieved yet that might spill over to 2025. But I do have some things written down. So they say you got to have a dream in order to make a dream come true. So what is your financial GPS? You know, in today's times, that even on your phone, in your car, you have a global positioning system. So what is your financial GPS? And I wrote down 5 things that you should have in your financial GPS. Number one, you should have a realistic spending plan, aka also known as a budget. You have to know what your cash flow is. That's the main thing. To me, cash flow in and cash flow out, which means, hey, you have to have a good understanding what your income and your expenses are. And the thing about it is that that can look like several different things. And I've seen different ways to do it. I've seen people say that basically they're going to use 50% on their needs, 30% on some wants, and 20% on something that, investment and saving. The best one that I can actually articulate is the 70-10-10-10. And I kind of break those things out, which means basically on your housing and, groceries, your all those things vital to life, your power, water, etc. Those things that you have to have. The things you want is basically, that wardrobe, that watch, the shoes. By now you probably have a good handle on having the basics of those things, especially if you've been in the work career field for a long time. And 10% should be that. I don't like to use the term emergency fund, and basically, but one of the things that you should be saving money for the incidental fund. And what I mean that the incidental fund is when that tire of your BMW go out, that has to be able something that you can pull that cash to buy that tire that doesn't disrupt your 70% or your 50%. Or, if you own a home, when the hot water heater go out, there has to be a fund that basically you can actually be able to pull from that doesn't, disrupt the other 50% or the 70% category. The next thing is that you spend less. One of the things that and I can confess, when I was employed, when I did get promoted, I had what they call the spending creep, which means that basically when I was driving a smaller vehicle that was still in good shape, I wanted a mid-size vehicle, which means that the spending creep got, increased, where I could have still had that smaller vehicle because it was, economical, gas, mileage, et cetera, but no, I wanted something a little bigger. So I allowed those raises, bonuses, tax refund to be used to increase those things instead of doing number 3, which is get out of debt. Get out of debt. You have to be disciplined. And that's number 3. You have to discipline and create the habit. Now, one of the ways that you could create the habit is have the auto pay, for your mortgage or your rent and your car payment and those large bills. Make sure you put those on auto pay, basically because you want them to be paid on time. As well as number 2 is another thing that I had to learn. Stop using your credit card as a safety net. So I'm sharing all my bad habits with you. So hopefully you will, you can even say, well, Ron, I'm not doing that. At least I ain't bad as you. So hopefully you can say that. But those are the things that actually you have to maintain your discipline to be able to do that. Because if you don't, those things will create financial slavery because you will always owe somebody else. And we're going to continue with the financial GPS after we take this quick break. We are back, and we're talking about this is season 3, and this is episode number 5, and we are getting financially lit. Well, financially literacy. You know, no matches in the studio. And what we're talking about, people don't plan to fail; they just fail to plan. And I was just in the middle of basically having the mindset that, and your mindset influence your action. And I went through how the mindset of rich people, poor people, and wealthy people think. And we're going to talk about the financial GPS. But I got a question from Arthur Dickens. One a good friend of mine. He said, "How should I take advantage of my annuity?" And one of the things about annuity is that annuities is probably one of the best vehicles that you can have during preparing for retirement. Now, there's some pros and cons with annuity, but the pros is basically annuity will provide you, let's say that I want to create additional income on my retirement, which means that basically in your retirement plan, they really said that basically it should be a minimum of 3 legs. And what they say that Social Security, your pension, then you have to have your investment. If you have a minimum of those 3 income streams, you can pretty much weather any type of retirement because those things can actually increase your income. So your third leg in this situation means basically you're using your annuity as part of your portfolio, your retirement portfolio, which basically most insurance companies, you purchase that from an insurance company. And insurance company is probably most one of the, I would say, most shrewdest conglomerate of investment in this nation. And just to give you a little background on this nation is that they have been around from the first time that America was instituted. I can go into my history of America, but I won't do that right now. But annuity has been around over 250 years, is my point. So they're probably one of the most stable investments that you can make. That's the pros of it. So basically, I would say take full advantage, put in as much as possible, so basically you can actually reap the rewards for that. Now, here's the con. The con is that annuities are taxable. So you have to make sure that you let that mature as long as you can, and as well as if you can hold off on Social Security as long as you can, because basically all 3 of those things will affect you tax-wise. So what you don't want to do is create a taxable type situation for yourself too early in life. And I mean that, like after 65 to 70, those are the things that there's some. And one thing I learned from taxes is that you will always be taxed, but your age can be a benefit to you later. So if you can push off those annuities to later, and to take advantage of your tax situation, because basically you're gonna normally a person late 60s, early 70s, they have paid off their home, they have basically purchased their dream vehicle, if you can want to call it that, and they don't have children as tax deductible. So basically, you are positioning yourself. If you have, if you're married, or if you have a significant other, but you are in a higher tax bracket. But I will definitely suggest that annuities are a good way to supplement your retirement. Getting back to financial GPS, I talked about a realistic spending plan, which basically creating the budget, which means that knowing where your income and your expenses are going, knowing where your assets and liabilities are, and making sure you understand the cash flow, because that's key. Cash flowing in and cash flowing out. That is almost like the lifeblood of your financial situation. And then I talked about number two, spend less. And I talked about, when you do get raises and you do get promoted, and you do get a tax refund, don't let that go to your head and start purchasing those things or moving up into even moving to a bigger house or moving to a bigger car, because those things, when you move up, there's a price tag to those things, where basically it will preclude you from doing number three, which is get out of debt. And I ended on the prior to the break, is that debt is financial slavery, because you have to dance to the tune of whoever you are in debt to, and you should be able to get out of that as soon as possible. And I said, do not use your credit cards as a safety net. You have to be able to create those other funds. Like I said, I don't like to use the term emergency fund, because basically, or rainy day fund, because that is exactly what's going to happen. But we know that basically cars need to be repaired, and hopefully, you have the the extended warranties, et cetera, et cetera. Be careful with the extended warranties, though. They're the ones that you see on TV might not be as good as they claim to be, and I'm just put that out there. But there are some good ones. That's number three. Number four, go back to save and investing. One of the things that I mentioned, the richest man in Babylon, is that to pay yourself first. Oftentimes we pay everybody else, the mortgage, we pay the car note, we pay all these other utilities, we buy groceries, we buy clothes, but we forget that the number one investment is you should be making is in yourself. But at the same time, even if it's $50, $100, $500, and I'm not talking about, what I mean by this, put it in a way that basically you can start a savings plan for yourself. And that's one. But then again, you have another part of that, that you are investing, which means basically, if you are a novice in investing, I would suggest that you do a IRA or 401k. But there's some, some things that you can actually make that work for you too. But you have to be careful of what instrument you use, as well as what are the administration fees that they are attached to these financial brokers and financial professionals. One of the things that I know for sure is that they have very from 0.3% to 5% of your total that they receive quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. And those things add up over the years. If you think about, let's say, 5% over 20 years, you have actually bought your financial planner a summer house. So be very, very cautious and make sure you understand what those fees are when you get into that. And number five, give generously. And remember, I went from that 70%, 10, 10, 10. That last 10% is, for me personally, I tithe to my church. And basically, I tithe for the simple fact that, scripturally, it should be something I should do as a believer. But that helps me overcome my fear of money, which means basically it makes me better as an individual, and it makes me better to control where my money is going. So I really believe in that. And I have some other people that I used to work with that actually they tithe 50% of their income. Of course, they are very astute in their investments and stuff. So 10% is very reasonable. Now, what I want to do right now, and I'm going to give you a quiz that I gave to some entrepreneurs, some financial investors, and some other people. Last Friday, I had the opportunity to speak to them about financial literacy. Now, you can send me your answers at SKST at skstradio@gmail.com. Send me your answers. So, and I got 10 quick questions. Number one, tell me, what is a credit card? Number one, what is a credit card? Number two, if your employer offers a 401k plan, when is the best time to start contributing to it? If your employer offers you a 401k plan, when is the best time to start contributing to it? Number three, which of the following is never a step in writing a check? Number three, which is the following is never a step in writing a check? And I know most people say basically it's a digital world right now, but there are certain places and to make sure that you don't have identity theft, there's some reason in places that you should write a check. Okay. Number four, what is not in your credit report? What is not in your credit report? Number five, what is a good way for a teenager to build credit? What is a good way for a teenager to build credit? Number six, what percentage of your income do some experts recommend to be spent on housing? What percentage of your income do some experts recommend to be spent on housing? Number seven, which of the following is true about overdraft protection? Or what is true about overdraft protection? What is true regarding overdraft protection? Number eight, what does experts say is good debt? Give me an example of what is good debt. Number nine, what is the difference between a subsidized student loan and an unsubsidized student loan? What is the difference between a subsidized student loan and an unsubsidized student loan? And number five, what best describes a money market account? What best describes a money market account? And I gave that test and last Friday, and believe it or not, the average score was 70 and above, which means that basically there is a lot of financial information, and there's a lot of people are taking advantage of financial information. And the thing about it, I want you to be one of those people who are taking control of their realistic spending plan. They are spending less, they're getting out of debt, and they're saving and investing, and they're giving generously. And that is right now the end of this session of financial literacy. And the thing about it is that now we have enough information that we can talk to our children and make sure that they are financial literate. And that's the key to helping the next generation to be, in control and have the proper mindset. So basically, they can have the wealth mindset, and basically they can start reading the book lists that we have, and basically they have their financial GPS in order. That is the end of episode number 5, Financial Lit. I thank you for my time is up, and I thank you for yours.